Locked in Hope, the story of the Garza Delgado family. In 2015, the Garza Delgado family, originally from Reynosa, Tamaulipas, was known for its business success in northern Mexico. With investments in real estate and international trade, they lived a life of comfort, travel, and family gatherings. Joanna Lizeth, the youngest daughter, had begun a long-distance relationship with a young Peruvian man named Jorge Seminario Ramos. After months of conversations, she decided to travel to Peru to formalize the relationship. What seemed like a love story soon turned into a nightmare. The invisible kidnapping. Joanna arrived in Chiclayo, Peru, with the promise of a new life. However, before long, Jorge and his family began to exercise absolute control over her. They took away her documents, isolated her from the outside world, and forced her to live as a servant. She could not leave. She could not work. She could not communicate. The violence was constant, psychological, economic, and physical. The most terrifying thing was that her two daughters, born during her captivity, were also growing up under this regime of control. Meanwhile, in Mexico, the Garza Delgado family had no news of Joanna. The calls stopped. The messages disappeared. Some thought she was dead. Others thought she had simply moved away. But her older sister, Mariana, never lost hope. A message in the dark. 10 years later, in 2025, Mariana received a message from an unknown number. It was brief, almost illegible. "I'm alive. Help me." Joanna had managed to get hold of an old cell phone and had secretly taken money from Jorge's savings to top up the balance. That message was the start of an international operation. The family contacted the Mexican consulate in Peru, which activated diplomatic protocols. The unexpected betrayal. During the investigation, it was revealed that Jorge's sister-in-law's sister, a woman who had visited Mexico years earlier and had met the Garza Delgado family, had been the one who had planned everything. She had seen the family's wealth, had met Joanna, and had convinced Jorge that he could hold her for financial gain. Although she never asked for a ransom, her goal was to subjugate her and take advantage of her immigration status. The betrayal hurt more than the confinement. Someone who had been welcomed with affection into their home, who had shared dinners and celebrations, had been the mastermind behind a decade of suffering. The return. Joanna and her daughters returned to Mexico with psychological and legal support. The Garza Delgado family, though marked by pain, reunited with tears and hugs. They never lost hope, and that hope was the light that kept them together during the darkest years. This story is based on the real case of Joanna Lizeth Garza Delgado, the journey that changed everything. Joanna Lizeth was 24 years old when she decided to leave Mexico to meet Jorge Seminario Ramos in Peru. She had met Jorge on social media, and after months of conversations, he convinced her that together they could build a fulfilling life of love and stability. Her family, although concerned, respected her decision. They organized an intimate farewell, with hugs, blessings, and promises to stay in touch. But as soon as she arrived in Chiclayo, everything changed. The web of control. Jorge lived with his mother and sister-in-law in a modest house. At first, Joanna thought the strict rules were part of the local culture, but she soon realized she was trapped. They took away her passport, forbade her from going out alone, and forced her to do housework from dawn to dusk. When she tried to contact her family, they told her she had no right, that she was no longer Mexican, that she now belonged to them. The years passed. Joanna had 2 daughters, both born in precarious conditions. They were never taken to the doctor. They had no documents. They lived locked up without school, without friends, without sunshine. The family in Mexico. Meanwhile, in Reynosa, the Garza Delgado family lived between anguish and denial. Mariana, the older sister, became the guardian of hope. Every year, on Joanna's birthday, she organized a small family gathering. They lit a candle, shared memories, and wrote letters that would never be sent. Joanna's father, Don Ernesto, became ill with sadness. He said he felt that his daughter was alive, but far away. Her mother, Dona Clara, prayed every night in front of an image of the Virgin of Guadalupe, asking for a miracle. The message that changed everything. In April 2025, Mariana received a WhatsApp message from a Peruvian number. It was a blurry photo of a girl with big eyes and a sad expression. The text read, "I'm Joanna. Help me. I'm in Chiclayo." Mariana didn't hesitate. She contacted the Mexican consulate, presented evidence, and demanded an investigation. It took weeks for the Peruvian police to organize the operation. Meanwhile, Joanna lived in fear of being discovered. She knew that if Jorge found the cell phone, it would all be over. The operation. On May 17, 2025, at 6 a.m., agents from the Ministry of Women and the Peruvian National Police raided the house. Joanna was doing laundry. Her daughters were asleep. Jorge tried to resist, but he was arrested along with his mother and sister-in-law. Joanna was taken to a care center for victims of violence. The girls received medical attention. They were anemic, behind in school, and afraid of human contact. But they were alive. The revelation. During questioning, it was discovered that the sister-in-law's sister, a woman named Milagros, had been the one who devised the plan. She had visited Mexico years earlier, met Joanna, and returned to Peru with the idea of holding her as a form of punishment and control. She never asked for ransom. Her motivation was power, domination, and a strange obsession with the Garza Delgado family. Milagros was arrested weeks later in Lima. Her testimony revealed a network of manipulation that went beyond imagination. The return. Joanna and her daughters returned to Mexico on June 3, 2025. The Monterrey airport was filled with media, but the family asked for privacy. The reunion was intimate, filled with tears, hugs, and silence. The girls met their grandparents for the first time. Mariana showed them the letters she had written each year. Joanna read them one by one, crying, "The reconstruction." Today, Joanna lives in Monterrey, receives psychological therapy, and works at a foundation that supports women who are victims of violence. Her daughters attend school, learn Spanish, and play in the park. The Garza Delgado family remains united, marked by pain but strengthened by hope. The invisible trauma. Although Joanna and her daughters were physically free, the real battle was just beginning. The girls, aged 7 and 9, could neither read nor write. They did not understand the concept of school, nor did they know how to interact with other children. They were afraid of men, of shouting, of telephones. Joanna, for her part, suffered from post-traumatic stress. She had nightmares, panic attacks, and felt deep guilt for not having escaped sooner. The Garza Delgado family hired a team of psychologists specializing in victims of prolonged kidnapping. The process was slow, painful, but steady. Each week, Joanna learned to trust again. Her daughters began to draw, play, and laugh. The trial. The case became an international scandal. The Peruvian and Mexican media covered the trial of Jorge Seminario Ramos and his accomplices. The prosecution presented compelling evidence. Recordings, testimonies, photographs of confinement. Joanna testified courageously, facing her captors in the courtroom. Milagros, the mastermind behind the plan, denied everything. She said that Joanna had chosen to stay. But the messages, medical reports, and statements from the girls proved otherwise. The trial lasted 6 months. In the end, Jorge was sentenced to 25 years in prison. His mother and sister-in-law received 15 years. Milagros was sentenced to 30 years for aggravated kidnapping, human trafficking, and psychological abuse. The social impact. Joanna's story sparked a movement. In Mexico, a campaign called #NoneCamasalas, Never Alone Again, was created, focusing on women who disappear abroad. In Peru, protocols for assisting migrant victims were strengthened. Joanna was invited to speak at universities, forums, and conferences. Her testimony became a symbol of resistance. Many women who had experienced similar situations began to contact her. Some had escaped trafficking networks. Others were still trapped. Joanna became a voice for those who could not speak. The new life. Today, Joanna lives in Monterrey in a modest but light-filled house. Her daughters attend a bilingual school. Mariana, her sister, takes them every morning. Don Ernesto, their father, teaches them to play the guitar. Dona Clara cooks their favorite dishes on Sundays. Joanna works at a foundation she created herself, Fundación Esperanza Viva. Its mission is to help migrant women at risk. She gives workshops, offers legal advice, and coordinates rescues in collaboration with consulates. Every year on May 17th, the family celebrates Return Day, not as a party, but as a ritual of remembrance. They light candles, read the letters Mariana wrote during the years of silence, and give thanks for life.